So my name is Kaiser Young. I am a freshman, and I just recently started writing for the Miami Student in the opinion and entertainment column.
Why did you join TMS?
I've always been kind of a writer. I've always kind of liked that, having that outlet, that space to do so. And then high school, admittedly, I kind of thought it was going to be a little lame. So it was like, I got to college and I was like, oh, this is definitely something that I want to pursue, definitely something that I think would be good for me and beneficial. So I just decided to join on the request of like a friend.
Gotcha. Uh, could you describe your role at the Miami Student?
So at the Miami Student, I am kind of just solely like a newer writer. So all I do is I come up with ideas and or I take ideas from the editors. They give it to us, and I go ahead and I write my either opinion or just kind of my viewpoint on any of those articles. And then I also make some like the Instagram post, social media post for our social media kind of team.
What do you hope to get out of your experience at TMS?
So at TMS, I actually just recently it convinced me to pick up to double major in journalism as long as strategic communication. So I added that journalism major just because I definitely want to be in the media kind of world as like I leave college, and that's somewhere where I think would be very beneficial. So just kind of having that perspective of journalism and just writing in general, I think would be really good and beneficial for me.
So I know you said you're a freshman, but have you taken any journalism courses, or are you currently taking any?
As of right now, I'm not taking any journalism courses, so that kind of sole exposure that I get is solely through TMS.
Um, what stories have you contributed to TMS?
So far, I've only written two stories, so that was within my first week. I wrote a story for our entertainment column about the newest Doja Cat album. So the Scarlet album, I did a review on that. And then I also did one of my first opinion pieces, which was about like boyhood and just like what that means to just really be kind of an adolescence, like a guy, and just like what that really means, and really like tapping into that just from the perspective of like that versus like girlhood.
So what is your writing process like?
So my writing process is very kind of in spurts and very jumbled. I'm probably one of the least organized writers that you'll probably come in contact with. There's not like a set time or day or kind of process that I have. It's definitely very much so, oh, I have this idea in my head. I need to write it down. My notes app is actually like, it's just filled with like, oh, I'm listening to a song. I think of a thought and boom, I just jot it down. So very much like I have very clips and spurts of kind of 30-minute intervals of when I'm writing, and then it's like, then I send it in.
What challenges do you encounter when writing a story?
Because I don't really have that organization, a lot of the challenges that I run into are definitely like deadlines. I'm really bad about having a deadline and meeting that deadline, because if I feel like I'm not like in that creative space, it's like, oh, I can't really do anything. So there are definitely times where it's like, oh, I kind of have to buckle down and be forced to like just sit there for 3 hours and write, and like and maybe only get like 20 words down. So it's just very much like finding that rhythm and like keeping that my headspace.
Just a quick aside, if you could try to repeat the question and the answer too.
Uh,
All right, thank you. Um, okay, so to that end, how do you balance academics and your writing for the paper?
So balancing how I balance like academics and then just the paper. TMS is actually not a very like strenuous extracurricular. It's very much that like all the pieces that I've actually written for myself, they were my ideas to write and give to the paper. So it's definitely like I've only written two. We're a little over halfway through the semester, and it's just very much that I tell them like, oh, I want to write something this week. They give me the thumbs up, and they edit it. They do all the editing for me. So the editors are very lax when it comes to how much you have to give.
Can you just run me through what a typical staff meeting would look like for you?
So our staff meetings are Sunday, generally in the afternoon, and really what that looks like is you have all the editors from all the different sections. I think we have 9 sections in total, 9 or 11, and all of like the individual writers. So in TMS, we have about like 230 members in total, but we probably only have about like 40, 50 people show up to one of those meetings. And in those meetings, we generally talk about, we do a workshop to like improve our writing. We talk about any kind of really, really big stories. We do a writer of the week. We celebrate like a writer who's ever had great strides for the week. And we just talk about if we ever have like a social kind of event going on. But
So, how does journalism and your work at the paper contribute to your career aspirations?
so journalism and like being a part of TMS, like with my future goals and stuff like that, just because I want to be a kind of publicist. So working for someone definitely in that entertainment industry, it definitely I feel like has given me not a different perspective, but just a different angle on how to really look at something or how to really like pose a story from how I want people to interpret it as.
So, how has your work at TMS affected how you write? Has it changed your process or anything like that?
So definitely, writing for TMS has definitely changed the way that my process of writing and stuff like that. Because I've only like had the passion of writing, it's only something that I got from doing assignments and stuff like that. It definitely it's a lot more of an outlet now. It's TMS, and like reading other writers' pieces and stuff like that. You see like how they have a little bit more of an organized process. Hearing how they go through things like that is definitely very beneficial, and things that I've taken away from that.
So, what have you learned after having joined the paper?
Just learning that I've learned like from TMS that there are just a lot of kind of innuendos that you kind of get from being a reporter, if you will, like just being like in that space of like, okay, this event happened. How do I want, if I want to write about this, how do I want like my reader to see this in the same way that I'm seeing that? So basically taking that kind of thing that like words have meaning, words have like impact, that kind of message has been really beneficial.
Could you tell me a little bit about the collaborative environment at the newspaper?
So that is probably the collaborative environment. TMS is very not one-on-one, but individual. You're not going to see actually a lot of writers like co-writing anything. A lot of the time it is solely individual. But we see with all of our different sections, we have sections like we have an editing section, we have like a video section, and sound, stuff like that. A lot of those sections are kind of support for a lot of our actual writing sections. So there's a lot of kind of background work that goes on between like in the paper that's not really seen, but that actual like physical like, oh, I'm writing with another person doesn't really happen a lot.
So, could you just give me a brief rundown of the chain of command at TMS for someone who's never heard of the paper before?
So we have, so the paper kind of works in, you have your actual like editor-in-chief of the paper, and then it kind of goes to the co-editor-in-chief, and those two are solely just like, they work on how, like if we have a print week, which is that physical newspaper that you flip through, and that digital thing, they make sure that everything that is posted to there is like at the standard of like TMS. And then you go down and you have your 8 and 9 or 11 editors that solely work on like editing papers and like whatever is posted through AP style. So they make sure they catch all the spelling errors, all the mistakes, grammatical errors, things like that. And those are the job of those like 9 to 11. And then you just have your general writers and like assistants to the editors of the sections.
So, could you tell me maybe a little bit about the feedback process on your writing at TMS?
So definitely the feedback kind of at TMS when you submit a piece. I'm actually submitting a piece right now. I'm working with the opinion editor Devin, and how me and Devin's kind of relationship works is that I submit a piece to Devin. Devin goes ahead and marks up everything that they find like that might be an error that they think could use a little bit more work, and they'll submit it back to me, and they'll just go ahead and they leave comments on everything. So my work is never physically changed, and I always kind of have that kind of say so, and there's always going to be that kind of it's not back and forth, but that back and forth kind of like, oh, we could probably use a better word here. We could probably use like the grammatical structure here does not really align with that kind of AP style. Things like that. So very kind of back and forth.
Could you tell me a little bit about the piece you're currently working on, or is that classified?
Not classified. I'm actually working on a piece about like the American dream, and about how like the American dream, like when it was first invented, that phrase like 100 years ago, meant something not completely different, but like the opportunity to succeed, having the opportunity, like in present day, is not as like wildly available already. It just didn't like that. The American dream was not meant for everyone 100 years ago, and trying to mold it in a way to where everyone could have the benefits of it.
So how does your writing for your section compare to others in the paper?
So mine, I'm definitely focused on writing. My section is definitely focused on, as opinion, writing about what students care about, in the sense of like, this is my opinion, this is how we do it. So that's kind of in drastic contrast with a lot of other reporters who kind of have to deal a little more with like the ethics of, okay, if we're talking about the new, or something that President Crawford did, an event that he had, they kind of have to take that with more of a like third person, kind of take themselves out of that initiative, where in opinion, I have the ability to like put myself in there and directly state my opinion, while like a community and campus reporter would probably have to like take that fact away and be more just like straight facts.
If any, do you have any ambitions for your role at the paper?
Definitely, I've been thinking about that, but just going off with like other clubs I have, I definitely feel like my ambitions to move up in the paper, maybe become an editor, just of a section, maybe. I'm still thinking about that, but just learning about what they do, but kind of their role and kind of their workload does seem a little bit like a lot, so we'll see how that goes moving forward.
Can you share a memorable story that has affected your experience at TMS?
Something really memorable that happened in TMS is just kind of that my first paper, my first week writing for the paper, I decided to write 2 stories. Usually they say that you should probably only write once a week. And I was really like thinking that, I was probably stressed myself out, did a little too much. I thought I took on too much, having to write both of those stories for 2 different sections. Being in a new environment, I ended up successfully like writing those 2 stories, and then like I got Staffer of the Week my first week there. So it was a very big like kind of like accolade that I had. I was like, I was shocked, not expecting that. So.
Could you talk about any mentors or advisors that have helped you in your experience at TMS so far?
So definitely, so a lot of mentors and people that have kind of shaped or molding my process of writing is definitely our opinion editor, Devin. Devin has definitely been someone that I'm able to look towards and value their opinion on kind of pieces that I'm writing going forward.
Do you have any advice for any students who are trying to get involved with TMS? Or?
I feel like the biggest piece of advice I can get for those of us trying to get involved with TMS is simply that it's really low stakes. You do as much as you want to, or as little as you want to. So writing, like having an opinion, everyone has an opinion. You can write for something like that. Everyone sees what goes on campus. You can write about things like that. We have a humor page. We definitely have a lot of different outlets. And when people think of writing, they think of like you have to write like 1 million words. And I feel like just if you just have something to say, it can be as short as 200 words, 500 words. As long as you just want to share a message and get it out there, I feel like that's the only reason why you should join TMS.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all we got for you. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Thank you.
Sure. When I was a sophomore, our managing editor was someone that was from I knew her from my hometown. We had mutual friends, and she was a huge, huge, huge mentor to me. I looked up to her a lot. And I remember we were distributing when it was the first print issue back to school, and we were distributing. And she had said at the time, I was a sophomore, so I was still kind of like newer to the paper, and she had said something like, I would do anything for this organization. And she was just talking about how much the organization meant to her and how much it has helped her through her time at Miami. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, she's crazy. She's like obsessed with this organization. And I would absolutely tell like a sophomore now how much this organization means to me. It truly does mean so much, and I would absolutely do anything for this organization. I would say some of the biggest mentors to me have been the journalism faculty. I could never, ever, ever thank any of them enough for everything they've done for me. When I came to Miami, it was during COVID. We were all on Zoom, and I was still at home because that was when we didn't come onto campus until like mid-September. And I remember Zooming with the chair of the department at the time. She's no longer here, and she was helping me get involved with different organizations and just really like introduced me to some of the faculty and who I would be working with. I had Joe Sampson as my journalism 101 professor, and he was absolutely amazing. I could never thank him enough. He kept me in the major, and he was also my advisor at the time, and he was so patient with me in figuring out what I wanted to do and where I really wanted to go in journalism, because it does have like very many different opportunities for you to go in, whether you go into audio or video or print. And so he was super helpful. My advisor now, Professor Tobin, is the most patient man in the entire world. He will stop anything or whatever he's doing to help me with whatever I need. There's been many times that I've called him and just asked a silly question, but he's always taken the time to answer it. And even Fred Reeder, our advisor, has been an incredible mentor to me. I've learned so much about him, just about the journalism industry and just everything. He taught me 102, he taught me my AP style, and he never lets me forget it. But it's been super helpful, and it's something that I've brought to internships, and they've been super impressed with. And Dr. Pennington has been an incredible, she's the chair of the department now, she's been an incredible mentor as well, just with editing things for me and just being someone that I can go and talk to about anything, and she will also drop anything that she's doing to just hear me chat. I think the journalism department, the professors in it work incredibly hard, and sometimes I'm not sure that they are always appreciated for all that they do, and there's no way I would be anywhere that I am today without them.
Can you share your most memorable experience you've had with TMS?
Oh gosh, can I think about it really quick?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a 3-second think. Most memorable experience?
I think it's
Just like most fun or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to do another one and come back to that?
Yeah, come back to that.
Okay. So what advice would you give students who want to get involved with the paper?
I would tell students that want to get involved in the paper to absolutely give it a try and to come to TMS and write for us. We have sections for anything that you're interested in, whether it's style or you're passionate about food or even entertainment like movies and music or just anything. Opinion, if you have an opinion on anything, there's a spot for you here at TMS, and we really do try to create an atmosphere and a community that's open for anyone. I would say that, yeah, anybody that's interested in coming and writing for TMS should absolutely do it.
Are there any ways you think that TMS could improve?
I think TMS could always improve. There's always stuff that we could be doing differently, covering better. Like I said earlier, the Oxford community is something that we do try to cover, but it just sometimes that is kind of the coverage that is not wait, let me start over. There is always ways I think that TMS can improve to be a better paper. Like I said earlier, the Oxford community is something that we do try to cover, but is something that typically does go uncovered because our focus is primarily on Miami's campus. So I think that TMS could definitely make a more concerted effort to cover Oxford. A lot of the weeks our coverage on Oxford community is just city council, which meets bi-weekly, or it's just school board. So I think that there are a lot of people in the community that would like to see our coverage more focused on Oxford, and I think that that is absolutely a very valid critique. I think we could also do a little bit better at kind of just diversifying our content a little bit. I think sometimes we can get stuck in a rut of the same stories every week, just modified or just a different approach. But I think that there is a lot of like untapped story ideas within just the university and Oxford community that sometimes do go uncovered. And a lot of that is just because we don't have the staff to do it. At schools like Northwestern or Mizzou, they have students that, they have really robust journalism schools, and they have students that want to go off and work for the New York Times. But for a lot of our staff members, this is just something that they do as an extracurricular, and it's something like fun that they want to be a part of, and that is totally fair and totally valid. It's just that we attract different students, and the students that do want to go into the journalism industry try to cover those story ideas, but it's a lot with schoolwork and being a full-time student and having a job, being involved in other organizations. If I could devote 40 hours a week to the paper, I absolutely would, but I can't, and I don't think anybody expects us to.
Can you describe the Miami student in 3 sentences, or just like in a short stint?
Like what it is?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. The Miami Student is Miami's student-run newspaper. We print bi-weekly, and the weeks that we don't print, we are constantly publishing on our website. We have a variety of sections for students that would be interested in joining the Miami Student. We have our campus and community section, which is our largest reported section, and we have sports, we have opinion, we have style, food, entertainment, really anything that you're interested in, there is a spot for you.
All right, now we're gonna go back to the one you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the most memorable experience.
Memorable experience.
Tough question.
I would say the most memorable experience during my time at TMS was my very first ever production night. I came as an assistant CNC editor, and I had no idea what to expect. I came, and the newsroom was packed with people, very stressed people, stressed editors, trying to get everything finalized for print. And I just remember sitting at the table and being like, oh my gosh, like this is how the paper is printed every week. This is how I get my physical copy. And it was something that I had never really thought about or experienced before. And I remember sitting at the table and finalizing stories, editing them for the last time before they went on the page, and thinking, oh my gosh, all of this depends on students. And obviously I knew at the time that this paper was student ran and that we played such an integral role in the information of our community, but I didn't think about the actual work that goes into it. And I think that was kind of a shock to me, but in like the best way possible, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like this, like I am like doing something for the community, and I am making sure that people understand what's going on. And it was such a good experience, and it just made me fall in love with TMS even more.
All right, so that's all the questions we have. Unless you want to say something that you didn't go over before, then you're done.
I don't think I have anything to add.
Alright, good job. I don't think I could have done that.
I don't know, pretend you're doing something.
Okay.
You think we should do like These are the newsroom with the lights off, like from out here with these windows.
I
What
don't
does it
remember.
like? What does that mean? Like,
I would rather.
Say it again.
See you next issue.
Maybe that's what,
She has like 2 articles on everything.
a bunch of shots because